Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy October. It's spooky season. It's my favorite time of year. Yeah. Okay, you all know I like horror movies. So what I'm going to try to do this year, and I'm going to say try, and also please excuse my hair. I just took a shower. It's crazy. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to watch 30 or 31 Halloween movies this year. And I think I can pull it off. And I'd like to do a quick, for me, review of each movie. Kind of like, a lot of people do this, but a couple of years ago, I did something similar to this with a podcast, and it was Nightmare on Elm Street. But this year, I do want to do it. And I think that it's an achievable thing because, horror movies are shorter. They're normally 90-minute affair or something like that. And I think I can do it. Now, with that being said, I don't think I'm going to do like a review every day. I don't think I can pull that off. Sometimes you might get a lapse, or I'll do two or three in a video or something like that. But I really want to try to do that. At the very least, we'll get a bunch in. And the movies are going to be whatever I feel like, whatever strikes my fancy. They're not all going to be new things. They're going to just be whatever I feel like. They might be an old movie that I've seen 1,000 times. It might be an old movie I've never seen before. Who knows? It could be a great movie. It could be a shitty movie. But I'm going to try to do that. I think it'd be fun. So we're going to start with the Munsters 2022. Rob Zombie directed, okay? And we're going to start this off by essentially not even reviewing it because this movie was not good, okay? And there was so little of substance in this film that just watch it, okay? Watch it and you'll understand. But there is something I wanted to talk about with this movie. And I watched it, and I watched a couple reviews of it and some other people talking about it, and these people I was watching had exactly the same thoughts as me. Eerily similar thoughts. So I wanted to talk about that. First off, let's go back a little bit. When I heard about this, I actually was a touch excited. I know when this was announced that Rob Zombie was going to make a Munsters movie, a lot of jokes came out like, like what is like every other word going to be the F word, because Rob Zombie has a very particular style. He's really good at making grindhousey sort of, I don't know, D-list kind of crazy hillbilly character kind of movies. And he's a love-or-hate director. Some people love everything he's done. Some people just can't stand him. I'm in the middle of the road. I really do respect Rob Zombie as a director, especially the fact that he is a metal musician who just he clearly loved horror movies. And presumably he's self-taught, and just, you can tell when he hits it, he really nails it, and you could tell he has busted his ass to get his vision out there. So I always have kind of respected him, and some of his movies are fantastic, like House of a Thousand Corpses and Three from Hell. I really liked 31. I really liked Devil's Rejects. He's got some good ones. He also has some horrible ones like Lords of Salem, Halloween 2, Halloween 1 to a degree. But anyways, with that being said, when I saw this, I thought, he might actually be able to pull it off because I would suspect he's a huge fan of this franchise, right? Now, I love the Munsters, but I'm not like a super fan. I don't know like all the trivia and everything, but I watched it growing up. I still watch it occasionally, and I love the Munsters. And I've actually always preferred the Munsters to the Addams Family, which I also love, but I always liked the Munsters, and I watched the made-for-TV movies in the 90s and stuff, and it's just a great, great franchise. So he was showing pictures of the set and everything and how he was trying to do this one-to-one recreation, and I thought, again, he might be able to pull this off because he might just put so much love into this movie. And yes, it's weird for Zombie to make a PG movie, but man, he might be able to do it. And then somebody kind of joked, like, what's he going to put his wife in as Lily Munster? And I thought, oh, well, there it goes. Yeah, he's going to do that. His wife, Sherry Moon Zombie, if you're not aware, is probably one of the worst actresses I've ever seen. And I'm not trying to be harsh, and I'm not trying to be funny. I really think she's like one of the worst actresses I've ever seen. And every movie she's in of his, she just it's terrible. I just can't believe how bad she is. And it's like, dude, stop putting your wife in movies, or give her a cameo or something, or a bit part. He puts her in lead roles, and it's just, oh my goodness. And Rob Zombie, he has great actors in some of his movies. Not all the time, but like Sid Haig, like you know what I mean? Like, and she cannot keep up with these actors on screen, and she can't act her way out of a paper bag. So when I saw that she's going to be Lily Munster, I thought, okay, well this is going to be kaput, but let's see how it goes. So I watched it, and it's not good. It's terrible. I should actually say. I'd say it's a terrible film, but there's something going on with this movie, and that's what I really wanted to talk about. I think that this movie, so two things, okay? The first thing is that I think he went with a very stylized thing, which is love or hate. This movie reads low budget and very hokey, and at times it feels like a parody of the Munsters. And sometimes it was just bad. Like, sometimes it was like, I feel like I'm watching a little kids movie, and it's just weird to, like, this is not for me. And sometimes it felt like I was watching a parody of the Munsters, almost akin to like the Brady Bunch movie from the 90s, which I love. And I thought, oh, that's cool actually. So he's not doing what people thought he was going to do. And I think that was his intention, to create a parody style thing of the Munsters. This movie was, I can't tell if it was shot on film or not. The first shot, when they're in the graveyard, you immediately see film grain. So that piqued my interest a little bit. You know, as a film fan, I'm always big into like cinematography and things like that. So I wondered, like, oh, maybe he did shoot this on film. That's kind of a rare occurrence these days. Or perhaps they shot it on digital and transferred it to film. Or maybe they digitally added film grain, but I doubt that for this movie. So I'm curious how this movie was shot. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if he did convince them to let him shoot it on film. It was shot at like 30 frames per second, which is unusual for a movie. You know, most movies are shot at 24 frames, and that adds to the TV look. It makes it look like a TV show. And there's some interesting things happening with sound design and music. The sound effects and the music and everything are very, very comical and slapsticky and goofy, low budget sounding, poor sounding, and it's clearly very intentional. And so I think a lot of people will watch this and be like, what the fuck am I watching? This is so bad. But those were the things I actually liked about the movie, because it was like, this is not serious at all. This is just total goofy fun. And it's a throwback to the original show, okay? So those were the things that I really liked about the movie. But the actual content and the acting performances, not great. With that being said, I can't remember the actor's name who played Grandpa, but I thought he was pretty good. I can't remember who played Herman, but I didn't care for him. And what needs to be said about Lily, the minute she appeared on screen, it was bad, man. The opening scene when Lily goes on a date with Nosferatu. The guy who played Nosferatu was good. It was goofy and funny, and that scene was just, I like that. You know, that's the kind of stuff that I wanted to see. And just seeing her in that scene with him, it was hard to watch, honestly. And that's how I felt in this movie. Sometimes it was hard for me to watch, and sometimes I was having a good time. Yeah, but the big thing I want to talk about, I think that this movie, and a couple other folks have said the exact same thing as me, I think that it was shot, or intended to be shot, in black and white. Because there are black and white sequences in this movie that are really good. I mean, really good. Like, Zombie knew what he was doing, big time. And I was like, whoa. Okay, that's cool. But you're going to notice. Now, maybe if you're not a big film fan and you don't really care about that stuff, you might not even notice, or you just be like, why is it all fucked up looking? But for a film fan like me, the colors in this movie are so oversaturated. It's honestly unbelievable that it was presented to us in this format. This movie feels broken. This movie feels like it shouldn't have been released in this state. This is a movie that feels like there was an intense amount of studio intervention, because the two characters come on the screen at the beginning of the movie with torches, right? You know, like oil lanterns. And the color is like so vividly bright orange, like busted, like not even washed out, just so vivid. It's like, it hurts your eyes. And sometimes that's cool. Like House of a Thousand Corpses is a very colorful movie, despite the subject matter, because it feels like a carnival fever dream, sometimes like an acid trip. But this is beyond that. This is like so far into the, like, why is it so vividly colorful? It's beyond like cartoony. It's hurting my eyes. And I can't see the studio allowing it to like go out in this state and saying like, yeah, that's your vision, that's great, let's do it like that. I don't think they would allow the colorists to do that poor of a job. And so I really do think that this was intended to be shot in black and white, because when you shoot movies in black and white, you do have to bump colors up so they pop in black and white. You can't just shoot it as you think you would in color. It does not translate. Like the original Munsters set was pink, right? That's ugly, and you wouldn't think that the Munsters would have a pink house, but that pops on camera. Also, if you've ever seen pictures of the set of I Love Lucy, their apartment, it's pink and gray. Ugly in color, but it pops on camera. Same thing with like Grandpa's face. You would expect Grandpa's face to be a pale gray or a white or something, and it's just an ugly blue. It's so ugly looking, and I think that's because that would pop on camera. Similarly with Herman, the green that they went with him was just so hideous looking. And the big thing that cued me into this was the lighting. This is something I think everybody's going to notice, whether or not you're a fan of cinematography or films. There is a extremely harsh green lighting throughout this whole movie. And I don't mean like, oh, you got to look and you'll see it. No, it's just in your face. There's green lights on everybody. And they're not even like a subtle green. They're just these harsh, ultra harsh, bright emerald, like Wizard of Oz, Emerald City green, like LED lighting on everybody. And it's all over the place. It's in the opening scene at the restaurant. It's at their house. It's so hideous looking. It ruins the scenes, man. It really, I mean, the colors are busted as it is, but this harsh green lighting blows these scenes, man. It's terrible. And I think that those lights certainly were done on set, right? So that's not something they added in post. These were on-set lights. So I think they were harshly lighting on purpose to get things to pop in black and white. And I wouldn't be surprised, and I could be wrong, it could have just been, Rob Zombie just screwed up again and made a shitty movie. It's entirely possible. Excuse me. But I think that he intended for that, and, I'm sure the studio was like, we're not doing that. We're not putting out a black and white movie. It's not going to sell. And it's one of those weird things because it's like, who is this movie for? Is it for kids? Kids aren't going to be interested in this. Parents are going to be weird. Like, I don't know if I should have my kid watch a Rob Zombie movie. Then there's stuff that's a little adult. It's such a bizarre movie. It doesn't know who it's for. It's just fucking so weird. It almost feels like it was probably supposed to be PG-13. Like, again, going back to the Brady Bunch, like a little adult kind of parody, but not too bad that like you couldn't watch it with the family. But then they just cut it. They tried to make it more and more kid friendly. And the movie just feels like people were messing with it the whole time. And it does at times. Like I've heard a couple other folks said this as well, that it feels like Rob gave up sometimes. And that's probably possible because that does happen in movies. There are times when directors they're so over it, you know what I mean, with the studio just ruining their idea for the movie that they just give up, and then you can see it in scenes that are just, you could tell that they like didn't give a shit, and there's a lot of scenes like that in this movie where you can tell probably Rob Zombie on set was like, I don't give a shit, just let's get this done. And then there are times where it's not so bad and I'm kind of enjoying myself. It's goofy, but I kind of like it. So I really think that it was supposed to be in black and white. They probably were like, no, that's not going to happen. And then they just had to roll with what they had. I wouldn't be surprised if the colorist for this movie, the color graders, were just like, what do we do? What do we do here? Because there's so much harsh lighting baked into the shots that there's only so much you can do. So this movie, I didn't think it was going to be good. It's not good, but it's a very interesting film. I'm curious what the story is. I wonder if Rob will ever say what the deal is. Who knows? But I would like to see this movie in black and white. Now, will we ever see it in black and white? The chances of that happening are extremely slim. I mean, this movie, I'm going to assume, did terribly. The reviews are atrocious. It's bombing. Well, I don't know if it released in theaters or not. It's on Netflix, but it certainly can't be doing well. And Who, I don't know though. Who knows? Like, I don't know how that works. If like a certain amount of people tune in on Netflix, who knows? But I can't see a studio like paying people to like put this back in black and white and release that in a special edition. That's not going to happen. This ain't like a Zack Snyder cut. You know what I mean? So someone, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like a super fan or someone does that though. So if you really are, if you do like this movie, or you're like a huge Rob Zombie fan, you like love everything he does, then maybe keep your eye out for that, because I wouldn't be shocked if that's something that happens. I'm not saying it's going to, I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me. um Not much more to say. um yeah, I mean, ugh, it wasn't good, but certainly an interesting thing, right? So that's my first movie. What's my second one going to be? I don't know. Like I said, it's just all random. However, there's two movies though that are newer that I'm excited for. One of them I'm really excited for. One of them I'm very cautious about. Hellraiser, the new one. It looks good, and I know like everyone's seen the trailer, and the reception has been very positive to the trailer, and I will say the trailer was good. It was a great trailer. The new Pinhead looks really cool. I don't know who the actress is that they got to play him. I don't know like what the gender is of Pinhead. Pinhead in the original book. If you ever read The Hellbound Heart, it's a cool read, but Pinhead was just this like androgynous, like freaky, weird thing. But Doug Bradley always played him in the original films. Um, but it's cool looking for sure. It looks cool, and certainly if you have ever watched any of the old Hellraisers, they're borderline unwatchable. I'll get into that though when I do my Hellraiser review. I'll talk about some of them. But actually, if you want to know more about the history of Hellraiser, look up Cinema for Cynics on YouTube. Paul Zigo's got a really good video talking about the history of Hellraiser. He's missing like two films, I think, but check that one out if you're interested. Um, but my point with that is that they've been so bad, and I'm not, I'm cynical, but I think they're like objectively like horrific films they have been, and this one looks decent, so I think that's why the reception is so positive. But it's like a Hulu movie, and I still have this feeling that it's going to be mediocre. I just don't, I can't see it being like, whoa, they really pulled it back. But even if it's mediocre, it's still going to be better, right, than the other ones, and it might just be a fun watch. So I am really looking forward to it. I don't I don't get excited about movies often, but I have to say I'm excited about that. The other one would be Halloween Ends, which is coming out the 14th, but I think they're screening it for the first time on the 11th. And you know me, Halloween's my favorite series. Michael Myers is my favorite horror movie icon. Halloween is just, I love Halloween. I love it to death. You all know that, okay? It's so 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 special to me. And I'm just terrified for that film because Halloween 2018 I thought was really good. I thought it pulled the series back in a great direction. It did have qualms. I did have qualms with it. I did have issues with it, but it was good. Halloween Kills was horrible. It was terrible, and they screwed it up. And my thought process was like, oh, this whole thing's botched, like in my opinion. But B, how are they going to pull this all together? They've just screwed. They've so many bad things that they've done. How are they going to pull this back? And then I'm reading the plot synopsis for Halloween Ends, and it's like they're going in a different direction now. And the director, David Gordon Green, was like, well, I didn't want to make the same movie three times, but I'm like, now you have all this other shit that you got to deal with in this third movie, and you have to wrap all this stuff up. I'm not excited for it. I'm very cautious, but we'll see. Sorry this went on a little long, but I did want to talk about Hellraiser and Halloween at the end. So that's that. Halloween, spooky season, it's always a good time of year. Let me know what your horror movies are you've been watching, or if you're planning on watching them. Some folks don't like horror movies, but yeah, man. And if you have any recommendations, throw them down there. I might have seen them, but I always like getting recommendations. Yeah, that's it, man. Peace out. Have a great day, and take care of yourselves.